Recording now. And all right, before we get started, I need to thank our sponsors for the show. That's Fleshlight. Yes, that's a portable device you can have sex with. And also Onnit.com, makers of Alpha Brain, New Mood, and Pro Sports. These are 5-HTTP supplements. I have to pull a Joe Rogan and say that if you're interested, then you can Google those. That's Onnit.com, Onnit.com.
Oh, wait. Did you say fleshlight?
The flashlight, yes, sir.
Now, if since I'm doing this show, I think since they're sponsoring the show, I should get like a free fleshlight. I think I should get one.
You will get a free flashlight. And I know that you're a fan of the white girls, so it'll even be white for you.
So yeah, and make sure that it has the mouthpiece that comes with it too, cause I know they got like the mouth, the pussy and the ass. So make sure the mouthpiece on there is on there too. You know what I'm saying? Now, sir, I know I'm saying this, but sir, I need you not to play with my flashlight. I expect a flashlight after this interview.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, sir. And also for the viewers, you can go to flashlight.com and use the code name Rogan, and you will save 15%. All right.
Nice.
All right, so before we get started, after your last fight, against Maximo, Ariel Helwani had asked for his third year anniversary show who needed to be on it, and so my obvious recommendation to you or to him was you, and he apologized that he couldn't get you on the show, but he said he would schedule you shortly, and he asked who you wanted to fight, and you said, and I quote, anyone who wants to bang. And then my next quote was Anthony Hedis is ready, and I also said call it out and it'll be yours. But my second run in with you was actually at a UFC fight in Miami.
At Fort Lauderdale.
Yeah.
Yeah, Fort Lauderdale. Yeah.
Yeah, and there was a Strike Force fighter who was in the place right beside you, and everybody was swarming this guy, and you was just kind of standing over near this black background by yourself, and I was like, Scott, there's Marcus Brimage, and he's like, Scott's a welterweight, and he's like, who? And I was like, that's Marcus Brimage, and he's like, who's that? And like I couldn't think it. Like the Dragon Ball Z thing was there, the Ultimate Fighter.
Yeah.
All that was in my head, but all I could think to say was, that guy that likes the rich white ladies with the titties. It's the only thing that. And so I started walking over to you, and he wasn't letting me. He's like, "Man, you're about to look like an idiot." And we went over. He's like, "If that was him, everybody would be around him." And you said you wanted to be recognized, and I'm going to do what I can for you.
Oh, thank you so much, man. I greatly appreciate that.
No problem. So after your Maximo Blanco fight, were you offered any other fights before Anthony Hedis?
Actually, no. You remember after my Maximo Blanco fight, everybody was on Twitter. I asked people to choose my next opponent, and there was some nice opponents. So I went there. I made up a list, me and my coaches, and we gave, the UFC our top 3 picks, and basically, Sean Shelby, he kind of looked at the list, and was like, yeah, fuck that. You're getting Jimmy Hedis, and I just said, yes, sir. Thank you very much. I'm so glad to be here. I ain't John Jones. Fuck that. I'll take whatever they give me.
Amen. Can you tell us who was the 3 that you named?
Of course, I wanted Leonard Garcia and Nan Pham, because they like to bang,
Yeah.
And Jimmy Hedis.
Sorry.
And
Sorry, I understand. And like Leonard Nan Pham, whenever he fought Hedis, he tried the same thing. He didn't want to take part on the ground, but Anthony Hedis just used his judo. And speaking of Leonard Garcia and Nan Pham, they had actually fought each other. And
fight of the night. Every time they fight of the night.
Oh yeah, it's sitting on the corner. Yeah, that's what I was about to mention was the fight of the night, and Nam Fan and Leonard Garcia, they're both primarily boxers, and they Nam Fan especially, and he really up until recently he really didn't have much defense defending the takedown, and Hedis has obviously the judo purple belt, and his throws is what his game plan relies on. Do you think they're overrating or overestimating Hedis because of Nam Fan's lack of takedown defense?
I don't think they're overestimating Hedis. I think they're underestimating me. Like it's so ridiculous. Like I when I saw your tweet, I was fucking belligerent. Like I was so heated, but I had to calm down because people gonna talk anyway. They don't do what I do, so they don't know what I can do. They don't know what I can't do. They don't know anything because they don't know shit about MMA. You know what I'm saying? So like my last fight with Maximo Blanco, I was supposed to get ran through like finish line tape. I was supposed to get raped with no Vaseline, but I'm fighting this guy who is like Mr. Sengoku, Mr. Pan Am, and then I zapped his ass a couple of times and he started running from me. And the frustration on my face is just like, dude, why are you running? You're supposed to knock me out. You can't knock me out doing a backpedaling, you know what I'm saying? And like I'm hearing all this stuff. And after it was all said and done, you know what I'm saying? It was a boring fight. I've never been booed my whole career as a fighter until that fight. So after that fight, it wasn't that Marcus Brim is just halfway decent. No, it was Maxwell Blanco is overrated because he lost to Marcus Brim. So that's what I'm saying. I'm underestimating again, but it's all good. I'm used to being the underdog, so I just beat somebody else's ass, and then they'll be like, "Oh, this guy was just overrated again."
I don't think they'll be able to make that case against Pettis though. But for those of y'all who aren't familiar with his last fight, it was against Marcus Maximo Blanco, and I personally feel like you didn't get the credit you deserved off of that win because he was coming from a loss in Strikeforce. But prior to that loss in Strikeforce, he was coming off of a six-fight win streak, six dominant fight win streak, and he did spend much of the fight backpedaling. Um, Maximo Blanco, can you tell us about like that game plan in that fight and like where that went? I mean, it was a good fight for you. I don't agree with the split decision. I had a unanimous decision, Marcus Brent,
Hmm.
because you did control the octagon and
Hmm.
set the pace.
Well, my whole thing with Maximo Blanco is if you notice that all his fights, all his opponents have one thing in common: they all ran from him, and as they were running from him, he would knock them out viciously with hooks. You know what I'm saying? And then this fight, I was expecting him to come at me, and the difference between Pat Healy and Maximo Blanco's other opponents were Pat Healy didn't run. Pat Healy said "fuck you" and he stayed right in his face after he went for the ankle lock, got kicked in the face like 5 times and like got all bloody. Pat Healy was mad and he was like, "No, fuck you, I'm not going anywhere." And Maximo wasn't used to being bullied back. He used to being the bully. He's not used to anybody bullying him back. So I went in there. I was like, "Okay, I'm finna be the bully," and he's running, and I'm like, the fuck you doing? You know what I'm saying? Like, you're supposed to knock me out. Like, where's all this? Where's Mr. Sengoku? Like, and then I'm like chasing them all around. And then when I got caught up in the hype and I gave chase, he went for a takedown. I was able to sprawl, get back up, but I was like, okay, you're gonna be gay. That's the game plan. You're gonna wait for me to chase you so you could go for a takedown. So after that, I stopped chasing him. You know what I'm saying? I come in with three. I come in with three. He backs up, and then after my three, I stop. And then he's like, and he's frozen because he expected me to keep pursuing, over pursuing, so he could take me down. You know, so my whole thing was to set a pace and not to over pursue because my loss against Brian Caraway, which I still watch like religiously, I was over pursuing a lot, and that's how he was able to get the takedown.